Hello, everyone. Welcome to this class. This is Miss Petria speaking, and I'm going to be your English teacher for this unit 31 in the level General 1. In this unit, we are going to talk about preferences. Welcome to this class, and I hope you understand and you like it. Let's start and see what we are going to do and what are the main topics we are going to talk about in this unit. In this class, we are going to study the verbs with gerunds. Number 2, verbs with infinitives. Number 3, I'd prefer and I'd rather structures. And finally, in the number 4, we are going to study so do I, neither, either, or to. In this case, remember, we are going to talk about the preferences. And this class is going to divide in different structures and in different steps. In the first step, get prepared for a grammar class in the number 1. In the number 2, we are going to have an interactive image. In the number 3, we have a conversation class. In the number 4, we have a Kahoot activity. In the number 5, we have a escape room. And finally, in the number 6, we have a grammar reminder. So this is the time to start with activity number 1 that is about a grammar class. So be ready because we are going to study the main structures and I want you to pay attention and take your notes because during the process of this class, maybe you are going to have some doubts that you are going to clarify the way we are advancing. So let's go with the grammar class. Well, we have the unit number 32 about preferences, and we are going to study today, according to the agenda, remember, we are going to study verbs. In first part, verbs that go with gerunds, verbs that go with infinitives, expressing preferences with I rather and I prefer, and finally expressing agreement, so do I, neither, either, or to. Okay, let's move and see what does this try about. We have gerunds and infinitives. It is important that you understand what are the gerunds and what are the infinitives. When we are talking about gerunds, maybe they are related to you in the language, like we say in Spanish, ando yendo. And in this case, in English, ando yendo is ing form. Okay, let's check. Gerunds are the ing form of a verb, and infinitives are the to base form. These words can be confusing. They combine the meaning of a verb with the grammar of a noun. Let's repeat. Gerunds are the ing form of a verb. As I told you before, in Spanish, we say ando yendo, and in English is ing. And infinitives are the to plus the base form. What is the to in English and Spanish is equivalent to are, ir. Example. And then continue. These words can be confusing. They combine the meaning of a verb with the grammar of a noun. Okay, my father asked me to phone him. I enjoy talking with my father. If we observe in the first part of the structure, we have to phone. Telefonear, hablar por teléfono, is in infinitive because we have to. And the second part we have, I enjoy talking. I enjoy talking. We don't have a to. We have the verb with ing. That's the main form in which we can differentiate how we use these structures. Let's go ahead. So how is to form like a noun? Imagine the first sentence said, my father asked me a question. You can see how a question and to form have the same grammatical role. Similarly, you could replace talking with the noun conversations. Let's repeat. So, how is to form like a noun? Imagine the first sentence said, my father asked me a question. You can see how a question and to form have the same grammatical role. Similarly, you could replace talking with the noun conversation. In this case, the main structure is asked me, is the action, the verb is the action, and to phone is a secondary structure. So that's the form in which we can say that to phone is different. And the same, enjoy is the main action and talking is the secondary action. So that's how we can use ing. Using gerunds and infinitives correctly with verbs can be difficult because some verbs go with only the infinitive or only the gerund, and others can go with either one. In this part, we have to pay attention to the verbs we are using in order to differentiate how we are going to use one verb with ing and how we are going to use another verb with to. First example, I enjoy going to the movies. Enjoy plus ing, form only. When we are talking about enjoy, is a verb that expresses a feeling. I enjoy is my personal feeling. In this case, I'm going to use the second verb with ing only because I'm talking about feelings. Then, Jason wants to visit a museum on Friday. Want plus infinitive form only. The verb want is exclusively used with to in infinitive. Why? Because of the grammatical rule, because of the use of the language, I have to use to. I cannot say I want visiting. It's impossible. I enjoy to go. No, I enjoy going. I want to visit. Or the contraction, maybe sometimes in the language of English, you can listen sometimes wanna, but the contraction is want to. But this is not academic. Wanna is for everyday life speaking. It's an informal language, okay? Then Tony likes, Tony likes. Like is something about a preference in which I'm involving my feelings, my sensations. So Tony likes eating at restaurants. Tony likes to eat at restaurants. In this case, when I'm talking about like, exclusively like, I can say I like eating or I like to eat in both ing and infinitive. But remember, enjoy, it's impossible to say enjoy too, and it's impossible to say I want visiting. Okay, pay attention to this. This is the main structures or the main examples we are going to have like a guide in order to complete the other exercises. Another difficulty is that sometimes choosing the infinitive or the gerund will change the meaning of the sentence. Mary stopped eating at 6. Mary was eating and at 6 o'clock she stopped. Mary stopped to eat at 6. Mary was walking home and at 6 o'clock she stopped walking and went into a cafe to eat. If you see, maybe the structure can be the same, but it has a little bit difference. Let's check again and analyze it. Mary stopped eating at 6. The time, I'm checking, okay, I stop, I eat, Mary was eating, and then 6 o'clock, stop, no anymore. Second, Mary stopped to eat at 6. Mary was walking home, and at 6 o'clock, she stopped walking and went into a cafe to eat. What is the difference? In the first structure, I say, Mary stopped eating at 6. Imagine Mary was eating, the action was in progress, it happened, and at 6 o'clock, stopped and done, and no, she didn't eat anymore, okay? That is the first sentence. The second, Mary stopped to eat. Mary was walking, maybe she was at work, maybe she was moving in the time of eating, and then she said, okay, it's time to eat, I'm going to eat. Mary was doing another activity. She was walking home, and suddenly, what, 6 o'clock? And she realized that it was time to eat, or maybe she was hungry. I don't know exactly. But the thing is that she stopped to eat. Ella se detuvo para comer a las 6. En la primera, Mari dejó de comer a las 6. Okay? Check it out. Okay. So, what's the rule for whether we use the ing form or the infinitive? What's the rule? How can I say when I'm going to use the to and when I'm going to use the infinitive? Remember, there are special rules that we have to follow, that there is no anything to say anymore. It's because there is a rule that specifies that this is the structure, and sometimes we have another special rules. Sorry, there isn't a rule. You have to learn which verbs go with which pattern, or to consult grammar references and keep practicing. Here are some of the most common verbs that go with gerunds, infinitives, or both. Okay? How we can say ing or infinitive? There is no other way more than memorizing, analyzing, and observing the context of the sentence. Okay. Verbs that go with gerunds. I dislike waiting for buses. I told you at the first time that when we are talking about feelings, sensations, something that we have inside us, that we feel, that we express like, dislike, or something that we enjoy, we are going to talk about verbs with ing. Followed by a gerund, ing form, admit, advise, consider, discuss, dislike, enjoy, finish, mind, practice, recommend, suggest. Let's repeat. Followed by a gerund, all these verbs exclusively are used with ing verb. Admit, advise, consider, discuss, dislike, enjoy, finished, mind, practiced, recommend, suggest. I dislike eating garlic, for example. I enjoy listening to rock music. I finish working at 7 p.m. I don't mind working with other people. I don't mind working with many people. I practice listening I practice listening, usually at nights, for example. I consider studying English this semester. And what about you? Think about some examples using these verbs that are exclusively used with ing form. Okay? Please do it. And here we have some examples. Enjoy. I enjoyed living in France. I fancy seeing a film tonight. We discussed going on holiday together. I dislike waiting for buses. We finished preparing for the meeting. I don't mind coming early. They suggested staying at the Grand Hotel. They recommended meeting earlier. He kept working, although he felt ill. She avoided talking to her boss. If you notice, all these verbs are with ing after the main verbs that express something or some preferences. Enjoy, fancy, discuss, dislike, finish, mind, suggest, recommend, keep, avoid. Now, let's see verbs that go with infinitives. We decided to go out for dinner. And these are the main verbs that we use with infinitive, followed by an infinitive are agree, appear, choose, decide, expect, fail, help, learn, need, refuse, seem, wait, and want. Can you think of some examples? Agree. She agreed to have a presentation at the meeting. Ask. I asked to leave early. I asked him to leave early. Decide. We decide to go out for dinner. Help. He helped to clean the kitchen. He helped his flatmate to clean the kitchen. Can. She plans to buy a new flat next year. She plans to buy a new flat next year. Hope. I hope to pass the exam. Learn. They are learning to sing. Next one that is want. I want to come to the party. I want him to come to the party. Good like. I would like to see her tonight. I would like you to see her tonight. Promise. We promise not to be late. All these verbs are used when the infinitive to, after agree, after ask, after decide, after help, after plan, after learn, want, would like, and promise. We use the infinitive to and the verb. We can use an object before the infinitive with these verbs. Note that help can also be followed by the infinitive without to, with no difference in meaning. I helped to carry it. I helped carried it. There's an exception when we are talking about help. And now, verbs that go with either, with no change in meaning. Pay attention to this because we are advancing and you need to focus on those differences. Followed by either, usually with no change in meaning. Begin, continue, hate, like, laugh, prefer, start. Can you think about some examples? Let's see. It started raining or it started to rain. Don't bother waiting for me or don't bother to wait for me. I love reading long novels. I love to read long novels. I love learning grammar rules or I love to learn grammar rules. In this case, those verbs are correct if we use with ing, and they are correct also if we use to infinitive. Let's repeat again. It started raining or it started to rain. Don't bother waiting for me or don't bother to wait for me. I love reading long novels. I love to read long novels. I love learning grammar rules or I love to learn grammar rules. And then here we have verbs that go with either, with change in meaning. In the previous, there were no change in the meaning. The sense of the structure is the same, is equal. But in this case, we can use both, but the meaning is changing. This is important that you take note of this. Let's move. Followed by either with a change in meaning. Forget, regret, remember, stop, try. Can you think about some examples? Remember plus gerund. This is when you remember something that has happened in the past. You have a memory of it, like being able to see a movie of it in your head. Let's see. I remember going to the beach when I was a child. I have a memory of going to the beach. Second, he remembers closing the door. He has a memory of closing the door. The meaning is not the same, it's different. Observe and pay attention. Let's see again and repeat. I remember going to the beach when I was a child. I have a memory of going to the beach in the past. He remembers closing the door. He has a memory of closing the door. Remember plus the infinitive. This is when you think of something that you need to do. And usually you then do the thing. I remember to buy milk. I was walking home and the idea that I needed milk came into my head. So I bought some. Again, I remembered to buy milk. I was walking home and the idea that I needed milk came into my head. So I bought some. Suddenly I remembered and I bought the milk. Second, she remembered to send a card to her grandmother. She remembered to send a card to her grandmother. What happened here? She remembered that she had to write a card to her grandmother. It's something that came to her mind. Okay. And please, for some examples of other verbs, we have to consult the recording. Don't worry. Don't worry. We are going to continue with this. Okay, let's see. Gerunds and infinitives can follow verbs in the form verb ing plus or the verb plus infinitive to base form of the verb. Positive, negative, and question. In the case of positive, Dersa suggested going to the park. Teresa suggested going to the park. Ross decided to go home instead. Okay, and now let's move to the negative. The negative form is verb plus not plus gerund or infinitive. My grandparents have retired and enjoy not working. Frank hopes not to travel over the holidays. Let's repeat. The negative form is verb plus not plus gerund and infinitive. My grandparents have retired and enjoy not working. Frank hopes not to travel over the holidays. And finally, the questions. What did the doctor advise taking for your cold? Let's repeat. What did the doctor advise taking for your cold? What do you need to do your laundry this weekend? Do you need to do your laundry this weekend? Remember, we are using both structures in different form, positive, negative, and question. And in the question, maybe it's some complex because we are going to use the main position of the verb always is the same. The verb with ing, we have the verb, and then the second verb is in ing. And in the case of the question, it's the same. We have the verb, the to infinitive, and the verb. Okay? So let's check how much you have learned today. And we are going to have an exercise time. Please, if you were taking notes, check them because you are going to need clarification of some of them. Okay, people, let's go with the first one. Choose the correct infinitives and gerunds to complete the sentence below. Number one, she offered help to help helping me. What do you think is the correct one? She offered help to help helping me. Let's see what is the correct answer. Do you have your answer already? Not yet? Okay, I'm going to check the answer, and this is correct answer, to help. We say offer plus to plus infinitive. So the correct answer is she offered to help. Infinitive, okay? We decide getting married, get married, to get married soon. Again, we decide getting married, get married, to get married soon. What do you think is the correct answer, please? Tell me. Of course, the correct answer is, we say decide to plus infinitive. And of course, the correct one is to get married. Number three, I stopped playing to play football when I got married. It's possible to say I stopped playing, and it's possible to say I stopped to play football when I got married. What do you think is the correct answer? Stop plus ing, of course, definitely. We say stop plus ing. How many right answers do you have? I hope you have everything okay. Okay, let's continue with the number 4. We should arrive very early in the morning. What is the correct answer? You should arrive very early in the morning. Do you want to see? Okay, let's see. Correct answer, arrive. We use infinitive without to after modal verbs. Will, can, must, should, might, may, etc. This is important. When we are talking about modal verbs, we don't use to infinitive. It's impossible because they are the structures that are based on modals. With everything of those verbs that are modals, we don't use the to infinitive and no other way. Will, can, must, should, might, may, and etc. There are many, many modals that you have to check your list in order to notice when you are not going to use the infinitive to. And finally, the number 5. I'm not very good at play sports. What do you think is the correct answer? I'm not very good at playing. I'm not very good to play. I'm not very good to play sports. Do you have your answer? Yes? Hope you did it. Hope you did it. Let's see. Correct answer, playing. After a preposition, we use ing. I'm not very good at playing. I'm not very good at cooking. I'm not very good at speaking English. I'm not very good at waiting people. I don't know, whatever. Okay. And definitely, you have many questions, of course, but remember, as I told you before, there is no many to study about the rules. You have just only to memorize the way we use the infinitive, the list of the verbs in which we use ing or gerunds, and the list of the verbs in which we can use them in both and how they change, of course. Okay. Let's move to the next exercise. Choose the correct infinitives and gerunds to complete the sentence below. Again, please focus on those sentences and check how we are going to answer according to what we have studied. You promised take, to take the children to the cinema. You promised take, to take children to the cinema. And the correct answer is, we say promise to. The correct answer is to take. Of course, to take. Okay, I'm going to circle these because I don't want you to forget it. Okay, then have you finished painting to paint the house? What do you think? Have you finished painting to paint the house? What can you say about this? Have you finished paint? Have you finished painting? Have you finished the paint? If you remember, this verb was in the list about the ending we use. Check your notes, please, because this is in everything what we studied previously. And the answer is, what is the answer? Don't you have any idea? In the first one, we said, you promised taking to take the children to the cinema, and it was good, of course, you promised to take. In this part, we have you finished painting or to paint the house? What can I say here? What can I do? Let's move to the next one. You should avoid to talking to strangers. 9, to traveling around the world has always been my dream. I couldn't find to phone you because I didn't have my phone. In this time, what I want you to do is to read the sentences carefully, and then we are going to answer, of course. But please, I want you to analyze them, check if you have those verbs in your notes, or try to differentiate them using the structure or all what we have studied here. Okay. So, have painting or to paint? Let's see. What is the answer? So I hope you have your answers, and let's see the number 7. And the answer is, we say finish plus ing. The correct answer is painting. So let's see the number 8. I hope you have your answers. Please take notes. We say avoid plus ing, and the correct answer is talking. Number 9, to travel or traveling around the world has always been my dream. And the correct answer is, we use ing when the verb is the subject of a sentence. The correct answer is traveling. Number 10, I couldn't find to phone you because I didn't have my phone. What is the correct answer? In this case, we say the correct answer is phone. We use the infinitive without to after modal verbs. Remember, the modal verbs are different. They don't use to in any structure. Will, can, must, should, might, may, etc. All of them don't use them because we are talking about modal verbs. This is something that you have to take note and see what is the list of verbs that are not used with the to infinitive because they are modal verbs. Okay? So let's go and see another step, expressing preference. How we use these structures to express preferences. I prefer to go by myself. I'd rather go by myself. In both cases, they have a different structure, but the meaning is the same. The sense of the sentence is different when we use the structure, but the meaning is almost the same. Okay, let's see first. Good prefer. We use good prefer or prefer followed by a to infinitive verb or a noun to talk about present and future preferences. In this case, we have some examples. I prefer to go by myself. The verb to go. When I use I prefer to go, the verb is in infinitive. Next, could you prefer a quieter restaurant? Is a noun. Would you prefer a quieter restaurant? Is a noun. I'm talking about the preference of something, but not a verb. She'd prefer not to drive at night. She'd prefer not to drive at night. In this case, I'm using the particle not before the to infinitive in order to express something that I don't like or I don't prefer. Prefer and would rather can be used interchangeably. When we are talking about general preferences, prefer is followed by verb ing. Thus, I prefer listening to music to watch TV. I rather listen to music than watch TV. If you observe, I prefer listening to music to watching TV. I'm talking about different structures or different verbs in different situations. When I using the verb that is next to prefer, I say I prefer listening to music to watching TV. I'm comparing something that I prefer comparing with another action. I rather listen to music than watch TV. I rather listen to music than watch TV. In this case, rather is followed by a bare infinitive without to. Pay attention to this. Again, prefer, the verb that is next to prefer is in ing, listening. When I'm talking about rather, I'd rather listen, the verb is an infinitive without to. Okay? Let's see. Rather, the contraction or the apostrophe is the contraction of gold. Gold rather. Instead, I have the construction here that is rather. However, when we are talking about specifics, good rather is used as an alternative to good preferred to followed by an infinitive. Good rather is very common in spoken English and is often abbreviated to rather. It is used in this form with all personal pronouns. I'd, you'd, he'd, she'd, we'd, date, rather. Remember that is the contraction of good, and the apostrophe D is the contraction of good. Would you like to go out for dinner tonight? No, thank you. I think I'd rather eat at home. I prefer to eat at home. They'd rather have the strawberries, but I'd prefer to have the blueberries. Good rather but not good preferred to is also followed by the tense. When we want to involve other people in the action, even thought it has a present or future meaning. Let's see again. Good rather but not good preferred to is also followed by a past tense when we want to involve other people in the action, even thought it has a present or future meaning. Okay, if we are talking about a present or future meaning, let's see. Let's study the following. Shall we go out for dinner tonight? No, I'd rather we ate at home, if you don't mind. Shall I write to Harry and tell him that we've sold the car? I'd rather you didn't. My mother would rather we caught the bus rather than walk home after the party. Let's analyze the sentence again, because maybe for you it's a little bit complex. Let's go. Shall we go out for dinner tonight? It's a question. No, I'd rather. We ate at home, if you don't mind. Shall I write to Harry and tell him that we've sold the car? I'd rather you didn't. My mother would rather we caught the bus. rather than walk home after the party. Remember, we use this followed by the past tense when we want to involve other people in the action, even though it has a present or future meaning. Okay? Well, expressing agreement. So do I, neither, either, or do. So do I, neither do I. There will always be the moment when we need to agree or disagree with someone in a conversation. In English, we use so do I to express agreement with positive statements, and neither do I to express agreement with negative statements. Here you have some examples. Let's repeat. There will always be the moment when we need to agree or disagree with someone in a conversation. In English, we use so do I to express agreement with positive statements, and neither do I to express agreement with negative statements. Okay. Example. I'm happy. And the answer is, so am I. I have a dog. So do I. Let's repeat. I'm happy. So am I. I have a dog. So do I. If you notice in the structure, we are having the answer using the main verb to be. In the first case is to be, I'm, In the second one, we have the verb have. And the answer is using the auxiliary do because I'm talking about an action in present, in simple present. And the auxiliary for the person I is do. Okay? Let's click here and see. I love dancing. And I answer, so do I. Because the verb is love, and love is in simple present, and the auxiliary for simple present is do when I'm talking about the person I. I don't like to do exercise. Oh, here we have negative sentence. Neither do I. I love dancing. Yo también. O a mí también me gusta, o a mí también me encanta. I don't like to do exercise. Neither do I. A mí tampoco. That is the equivalent in Spanish. But in the case, the structure is neither, auxiliary, and the person. Okay, let's continue. We live in Mexico City. So do they. Depending on the person we are referring to, we are going to use the auxiliary verb. And depending also of the structure in the first sentence, we are going to be comparing and answering positive or negative. Again, we live in Mexico City, and so do they. Okay. Let's go. John, I hate mushrooms. Me, so do I. It's positive. Yo también. I also hate mushrooms. This is often used as a reply to someone else in a conversation, but both sentences can also be said by the same person and even joined together. Elizabeth loves coffee. So do I. Harry doesn't play the piano, and neither do I. In this case, it's a negative. When I'm talking about negative, I'm going to use neither. And if the auxiliary is in negative, the auxiliary with neither is in positive. In the previous examples, we use do because the first sentence is in the present simple tense. The verb after so or neither changes depending on the tense of the verb in the first sentence. That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you, of course. I hope you understand this because you need to pay attention to the main structures we are going to use when answering. For example, in the present simple, use do or does. Lucy likes coffee. So do I. Lucy doesn't like coffee. Neither do I. Present simple with be, use is, are. John's at office. So am I. John isn't at the office. Neither am I. Present continuous use am, is, are. Luke's going out tonight. So am I. Luke isn't going out tonight. Neither am I. How simple, use did. Jill went to the cinema yesterday. So did I. Jill didn't go to the cinema yesterday. Neither did I. As simple with be, use, was, were. She was at the library. So was I. She wasn't at the library. Neither was I. Present perfect. Use have or has. They've been to Colombia. So have I. So have I. They haven't been to Colombia. Neither have I. Future simple use will. Edward will be at the cafe later. So will I. Edward won't be at the cafe later. Neither will I. Modal verbs repeat the modal verb. This is important to pay attention to this. We would like a cup of coffee. So will I. We couldn't like a cup of coffee. Neither will I. Emma can speak Russian. So can I. Emma can speak Russian. Neither can I. Okay, if you compare using the auxiliary verbs depends on the main sentence. And we have to follow the rules according to the different structures. If I'm talking about simple present, is auxiliary do or does. If I'm talking about the to be, is, are, is according to the person of the pronouns. If I'm talking about the use of did, I'm going to use the auxiliary did for everything. And about was, where, there is no problem. I'm using was for he, she, it, and where for we, you, them. And when I'm talking about the have for has, the auxiliary is for has, is, he, she, it, and have for the rest of the other pronouns. Will, there is no change because will is will for everyone, and in negative we use won't. But when I'm talking about the modal verb, remember we are going to answer using the same modal verb. The only thing that we change is the position of so or neither, depending if negative or positive. Okay. Subjects other than I. Of course, we can also use these expressions to talk about what's true for other people, not just ourselves. Typically, we use so do I, so am I, neither do I, but there is not all the time we are going to use for I, for the person Joe. We are going to use talking about other people, and this is the complexity of the structures because we are going to think about another person, and we are going to use different auxiliary verbs. Example, John, I hate mushrooms. I hate mushrooms. And the answer, so does Laura. So does too. So does Laura. Laura does too. Laura too. Again, John says, I hate mushrooms. And the answer, I answer, but I'm talking about Laura. So if I'm talking about Laura, there are different structures in which I can answer. So does Laura. Laura does too. Laura too. When I'm talking about so, it's at the beginning. then the auxiliary, and then the person. When I'm talking about to, is at the end of the sentence. Laura, auxiliary does, plus to at the end. Or the simple form, Laura, to, and that's it. Lucy, I don't live in London. Neither does David. David doesn't either. David, neither. Observe the position. Neither at the beginning, auxiliary does, and David. David, the beginning, auxiliary doesn't. Either is at the end, is not at the beginning. David, neither. That is the shorter form. Okay. What about to and either? We can also use I do too and I don't either, which mean the same as so do I and neither do I. These are equivalent, but what is different is the position in which they are used. Example 1, I hate mushrooms. I do too. I don't live in London. I don't either. You observe what I said before? Yeah? Think about it. In the previous charge, we were talking about so at the beginning, but in this case, I'm talking about to at the end. I do too. And neither do I. I'm going to use either. Equivalent is so do I do too. Neither do I, equivalent, I don't either. They are the same, but they use in different structure and different position. So if I'm talking about either is at the end, not at the beginning. In the previous I used neither do I, but now I don't live in London. I don't either. Either is at the end. What about to and either? The verb changes in the same way as with so do I and neither do I. Remember, you need a negative verb with either. Present simple. John's at the office. I am too. Present continuous. Luke isn't going out tonight. I'm not either. Present perfect. They've been to Colombia. I have to. Modal verbs. Emma can't speak Russian. I can't either. Let's repeat again. Present simple. John's at the office. I am too. Present continuous. Luke isn't going out tonight. I'm not either. Present perfect. They've been to Colombia. I have to. Modal verbs. Emma can speak Russian. I can't either. Me too and me neither. We can also use me too and me neither. Me too has the same meaning as so auxiliary verb plus I. And me neither has the same meaning as neither plus auxiliary verb plus I. Me too and me neither are very informal. Remember, they are informal because they are simple structures to answer. They are very common in daily life speaking. Example, I hate mushrooms. Me too. I don't live in London. Me neither. Everything that we studied previously is more complex, but it's necessary to understand that at the end, the people all the time look for easy form to speak, the easiest form to speak, the easiest form to do or to communicate something shorter. But it's important that you notice that all the structures are equivalent. And finally, we can say me too or me neither, and that's it. but it's not the only form to answer. So it was necessary that you had the knowledge for the previous structures. And finally, you understand that we can speak this way, informal way. So this is the end of this section about grammar. I hope you have clarified some doubts that you had. Maybe can be complex, but we are going to keep on this. And now we are going to move to another section that is yes, this is time for the interactive image. Let's see what we are going to explore now about the interactive image. Are you ready? Let's go. Okay. Can you observe the picture you have in your screen? Let's explore, and I want you to take your notes because this is for more vocabulary and this is important for you to follow the content. Okay, let's click on here. And we have some notes. British versus American English. Wardrobe, closet. In British, I say wardrobe. In American, I say closet. Motorway is in British and highway in American. Crisps or chips? Crisp, chips. Biscuit, cookie. And then we have chemist, drugstore, trouser, pants, lift, elevator, dustbin, garbage can. Okay, and then what are, okay, here, this part. Streaming television. What is streaming television? Do you have any idea? Streaming television is the digital distribution of television content, such as TV shows as streaming video, delivered over the internet. Streaming is a new way of watching TV shows or movies. Again, let's see. Streaming television is the digital distribution of television content, such as TV shows as a streaming video delivered over the internet. Streaming is a new way of watching TV shows or movies. Interesting, very interesting. Okay, let's click on here. Oh, television. Cable television is a system of delivering television programming to consumers via radio frequency, signals transmitted through coaxial cables. Or in more recent systems, light pulses through fiber optic cables. Example, dish or sky. Let's read again. Let's read again, please. Okay. Sometimes we have these elements, but now we are going to discover how are they defined in English, of course. Cable television is a system of delivering television programming to consumers via radio frequency, signals transmitted throughout coaxial cables, or in more recent systems, light pulses throughout. Fiber optic, in Spanish we say fibra óptica, right? Fiber optic cables. Example, dish or sky. Interesting, interesting. And then useful phrasal verbs to describe your feeling. Stir up, When you make someone feel an emotion, often a bad one, you stir it up. When you make someone feel an emotion, often a bad one, you stir it up. Oh my God. Light up. When someone's eyes or face light up, they suddenly look happy or excited. Light up. Brillan. Okay. Something like that in Spanish. When you are in love, when you are excited, your eyes or face light up. Tu cara brilla cuando estás enamorada, for example. And stir it up es cuando you don't feel good. Tear up. If you tear up, you start to have tears in your eyes because you're sad or happy. Tear up. Freak out. If you freak out, or if something or someone freaks you out, you feel so angry, scared, or surprised that you can't control yourself. How do you interpret that in Spanish? If you freak out, or if something or someone freaks you out, you feel so angry, scared, or surprised that you can't control yourself. Something like estallar, right? Tell off. If you tell someone off, you speak to them angrily for doing something wrong. Tell off. If you tell someone off, you speak to them angrily for doing something wrong. It's like regañar, right? And what else? I don't know. There are another here. Oh, important here. We have some adjectives to describe TV shows. Absorbing, intensely interesting, engrossing. Acclaimed, attracting public approval and praise. Ambitious, having a strong wish to be successful. Brilliant, very good. Inspirational, making you feel full of hope or encouraged. Controversial, causing disagreement or discussion. Touching, making you feel sadness or happiness. Okay, let's repeat. Adjectives to describe TV shows. Absorbing, intensely interesting, engrossing. Acclaimed, attracting public approval and praise. Ambitious, having a strong wish to be successful. Brilliant, very good. Inspirational, making you feel full of hope or encouraged. Controversial, causing disagreement or discussion. Touching, making you feel sadness or happiness. Okay, that's great. Of course, this time is for the conversation class. Remember, sometimes we can practice some questions and think about it. Maybe at this time you have some troubles, some doubts, and you can take your notes and make your conversations and try to do some exercises. But now I'm going to give you some guide in order to do a conversation class. Think your answers. Maybe you don't speak this time, but try to speak yourself the way you are. Speak. The more you speak, the more you learn. The more you practice, the more you fluent are going to be when speaking English. Okay? So let's go. Preferences. My two preferences. We are going to have the conversation class, and we are going to start with the first question. What do you think movies can and do have tremendous influence in shaping young lives in the realm of entertainment towards the ideals and objectives of normal adulthood? Walt Disney. Oh, let's see again. Movies can and do have tremendous influence in shaping young lives in the realm and entertainment towards the ideal and objectives of normal adulthood. Walt Disney realm, an area of interest or activity towards in the direction of or closer to someone or something. Preferences. What entertains you? What is your favorite form of entertainment? Do you like to read? What about concerts? Now live and stream concerts. What do you usually do in your free time? Think about it. Let's go. What entertains you? Maybe you see soap operas, you see Netflix, and I don't know, you see TV shows or series. I don't know. What is your favorite form of entertainment? Maybe you don't watch TV, but you like to play video games. You like another kind of things, another preferences. And do you like to read? If you like to read, why or why not? I think this time many people is not reading anymore. Many people is just chatting on the phone. They are on the Facebook, Messenger, Instagram, TikToks. That is a kind of entertainment too. Maybe you don't work a lot in the TV. You don't watch TV, a lot of TV, but you are in the TikTok sometimes, maybe. What about concerts? Now live stream concerts. Do you like the concerts? Why? Why not? Do you prefer live concerts or do you prefer to see the concerts on TV? What do you usually do in your free time? In your free time, do you read a book? Do you watch TV? Do you play video games? What else? What are your preferences? What do you like to do? Maybe, as I told you before, you play video games or you see TV shows. Maybe you see Netflix or you go to the cinema. I don't know. Think about it. Do you like watching TV? Yes or no? What about Netflix or YouTube or any other online streaming service? Do you know any other streaming services? Think about them and tell me. Please, I want that you try to answer those questions by yourself. Think about it. Think about it and try to answer. The same you are looking at this video, try to speak with me. Even I'm speaking, I want that you answer and you speak at the same time. I'm going to go back and I'm going to read the question and I'm going to give you about 30 seconds for you to answer and try to speak at the time I finish, okay? What entertains you? What is your favorite form of entertainment? Think about it. I hope you are speaking and telling you your answers. Do you like to read? Yes, no, why? What about concerts? Have you ever gone to concerts? Do you like concerts? What kind of concerts? What kind of music do you like to see in the concerts? What's your favorite artist? I'm just giving you time for you to answer. I hope you are speaking this moment. and telling your answer by yourself. Next, what do you usually do in your free time? This is a question that everybody asks you in any conversation. What do you usually do in your free time? For example, me, I rather, what can I do in my free time? Sometimes I prefer staying at home. I prefer sleeping until maybe 10 a.m. on Sundays or Saturdays when I have time to rest. And then I like going to the farm. I don't know. What about you? Tell me about you. I don't want to speak about me. Just about you. What do you usually do in your free time? Okay. Do you like watching TV? What about Netflix or YouTube or any other online streaming service? Are you answering? I like watching TV. I like watching soap opera sometimes when I have time. And about Netflix, what can I say? Where for me, Netflix is interesting because you have many, many, many options to see. I love this series. And about YouTube, everything is in YouTube. You have English classes in YouTube. You have many, many instructions for any recipes. You have instructions for almost everything that you want to do in your life is in YouTube. YouTube is universal, I think. Do you know any other online streaming service? Tell me because I don't remember them. Are you answering the questions? I hope so. Okay. Do you enjoy going to the movies? Or do you prefer watching the movies at home? I prefer watching the movies at home. I'd rather stay home than going out because it's more the time at home is a treasure for me. When you have a lot of work, when you work a lot, maybe you prefer staying home. But I don't know, what about you? Sometimes it's much better going to the cinema, of course. Do you practice English with movies? This is a great question. Do you practice English with movies? Sometimes it is nice to see the movies, to watch the movies, sorry, and try to speak the way the people is speaking in a natural form. But there are some words maybe you don't understand. Take the notes, try to catch them, and then you investigate and you search on the web and a dictionary, and maybe you can find some words that you are learning when you watch a TV, when you watch a film. And of course, if you go to the cinema, I recommend you because the sound or the pronunciation is clear, because it's louder. Okay. Next question. What is your favorite movie genre? What is one movie that you super recommend? Do you like international movies? What about Mexican movies and classic movies? Are you thinking about your answers? I hope so. Tell me, what is one movie that you super recommend? Let me think. I don't know. I haven't watched a lot of movies, but what about you? Can you recommend anything for me? A super recommend movie? Do you like international movies from other countries? Many people talk about the Japanese movies. They are interesting. Turkish, yes, Arabian. What about Mexican movies and classic movies? For example, I love the classic movies. I love Mexican movies from the 50s about mm, Pedro Fernández, Jorge Negrete. I don't know all the movies, but they are Mexican. Antonio Aguilar. I don't know. Maybe you prefer international ones, but I love Mexican movies. Okay, go ahead. Here we are going to see some related vocabulary. Enlister, blockbuster, cameo, prequel, or sequel. Okay, let's see. Prequel, a film, book, or play that develops the story of an early film by telling you what happened before the events in the first film. Sequel, a book, film, or play that continues the story of a previous book. I'm reading the sequel to Gone with the Wind. Again, a prequel is a film, a book, or play that develops the story of an early film by telling you what happened before the events in the first film. Sequel is a book, film, or play that continues the story of a previous book. Okay, what about this? A cameo is a small but noticeable part in a film or play performed by a famous actor. He appears briefly towards the end of the film in a cameo role as surprised. A small but noticeable part in a film or play performed by a famous actor. He appears abruptly towards the end of the film in a cameo role as surprised. I don't know, in Spanish they say papel secundario, short. I don't know how to say that in Spanish. Blockbuster, a very successful product, film, etc. that makes a lot of money. A Hollywood studio releases dozens of films in search of that one blockbuster. A very successful product, film that makes a lot of money. A Hollywood studio releases dozens of films in search of that one blockbuster. Interesting. Hollywood. And Lister, one of the most famous of all famous people. He's not yet an A-lister, but his popularity is growing. In Spanish, how do you say that? Is estrella principal? Is like a celebrity, I think. One of the most famous of all famous people. Is not yet a lister, but his popularity is growing. Yeah, a celebridad, right? I don't know. Let's see. What do you think? A good film does more than entertain or fill seats at the cinema. It has the power to change hearts and minds, and sometimes society more widely. Art can touch people and make them open up. Has something like this happened to you with any movie? Let's read again. A good film does, okay, a good film does, okay, a good film does more than entertain or fill seats at the cinema. It has the power to change hearts and minds, and sometimes society more widely. Art can touch people and make them open up. Has something like this happened to you with any movie? The question is if you have experienced something about the movie that has changed in any sense your life, that has the power to change your heart, your feelings, your thoughts about what you explore, what you experienced in that movie, that you recommend because maybe this movie had a content that you analyze, that makes you reflect about any specific topic of the life, about your own. Maybe this movie in any time of your life touch touch your heart, touch your feeling, that you felt something special. Has something like this happened to you? Do you remember when? How was it? What's the name of the movie that transformed your feeling or your thought in that moment? Do you remember? Comment about this. Movies in your life. What was the first movie you saw at the cinema? Do you remember maybe when you were a student, when you were a child, when you were children, with your parents? Do you have a special memory about one movie? Have you seen one movie more than 10 minutes? Sorry, more than 10 times? As you say, this is my favorite movie. I have seen this movie about 5 times, about 6 times, and all the time I cry because this movie is very sensitive for me. I don't know, or this movie is exciting for me. I feel emotions when I see this movie, and every time, all the time I see the movie, I feel this feeling all the time. That's my favorite movie. Have you ever seen one movie more than 10 times? If you if you did, oh my God, let me tell you, that's interesting. If you have seen a movie many times, I admire you because maybe that's a great movie that you have. Any special memory about your movie? Anything that you remember that you say, this movie transport me to another place, to another moment of my life? And do you have the memory of the first movie that you saw? Remember, what's the name? Okay. You are thinking a lot, I think. Changing preferences. How are Netflix and online streaming services and the pandemic changing the way we consume entertainment? Of course, during the pandemic, we had a lot of virtual work. Everything was online. The relationships were online. The job was online. And of course, we spent a lot of time working online. And of course, if you had Netflix, I think, of course, you had plenty of time watching Netflix. How are Netflix and online streaming services changing the way we consume entertainment? Have you experienced some changes in the way you consume? Have you experienced something that you say, okay, this time about the pandemic is different? I am more consuming time with the phone, with the TV. I don't know. Think about it. Do you prefer movies? In English, Spanish, or in another language, when you watch a movie, English, do you prefer it dubbed or subtitled? In English, Spanish, or in another language, when you watch a movie, English, do you prefer it dubbed or subtitled? How do you prefer this? Would you like to be a famous star? Why? Why not? Imagine, as you say in the image here, no autographs, please. If you get famous, you don't have private life. You know, la fama cuesta. Okay. So we are going to a Kahoot. We are in the step number 4 and we are going to play a Kahoot. I hope you have a good result in this time. So let's play with me. Well, let's see. This is the time for a Kahoot game. And we are going to start. We use this verb to express preferences, except, where's the answer? Think about it. Where's the correct answer? Yes, the correct answer is believe. Yes or no? Number 2, ing form or to infinitive are used to express preferences. Is true or false? Ing form or to infinitive are used to express preferences. What is the answer? True or false? Yeah, it's true. Next one. This TV program interviews known people during their transmission, mostly in not a formal context. This TV program interviews known people during their transmission, mostly in not a formal context. Oh, news, cartoons, chat show, or publicity? What is the answer? In a formal context, yes, a chat show. The ing form helps us to express habits. Ooh, interesting question. What do you think? True or false? 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And is false. Of course, ing is not for habits, it's for activities in action. Next. All are words from British English except All are words from British English except which one? Do you remember these words were in the interactive image? Do you have anything of those in your mind? Which one? Elevator, of course, elevator is American, not British. Number 6. English is the most spoken language in the world. What do you think? True. Yeah, it is true. Number 7. The world famous cartoon The Simpsons was created by Dan Harmon, J.K. Rowling, Stephen Hillenburg, or Matt Groening. And this is Matt Groening. ing form express enjoyment or lack of it. What do you think? True or false? Definitely true, yes. Number 9. This phrasal verb describes when someone or something laughs suddenly and loud. Look down, wrap up, carry on, give up. Which one? Yes, grab up. Number 10. And finally, a use of present progressive is to describe two actions that took place at the same time. False. It's not possible. Okay, this is the end of this game. How many answers did you get right? I hope you had 10. If not, don't worry. It's just a game. We are going to practice and maybe you are going to notice some aspects you have to study more. Okay? And this is the time to go to the escape room. In the escape room, we are going to explore some other contents that are going to be interesting for you. So don't go, pay attention. If you see, we are going to a cruise. Let's start. Pay attention to these and tell me. And I say, I was my favorite reality show when the lights went off. And we have 3 options: watched, watching, or being watched. What do you think is the correct one? Observe the possible answers and think about it. I was watching, I was watching, or I was being watched. What do you think? Okay, let's click. Maybe you say watched. Oops, no. And watching. Yes, that was correct. I could love played, playing, or to play with you. I would like play it. I would love playing, or I would love to play. Let's see, click on the first one. No. Click on the second one. No. So the right one is to play. Before Netflix, what's a success people used to rent movies with? Before Netflix, what's a success people used to rent movies with? Apple TV? Oops, no. iMovie? No. Blockbuster is the correct one. The subway was so crowded, so I couldn't arrive on time. The second, so is being used as an intensifier, relative clause, or conjunction. I'm going to start from the right to the left, maybe, because we are going to have someone who says that it's a relative clause. Oops, no. Is an intensifier? No, of course, this is a conjunction because I'm joining two sentences. If you prefer to give up, this means that you don't. If you prefer to give up, this means that you don't have time. No. Keep striving to achieve your goals. Yes. How many ways are to use would rather? Do you remember? Maybe 5, maybe 3, maybe 2. How many ways are you to use would rather? 5? No. 3? No. Of course, there are only 2 ways. In this TV show, stars are being interviewed in an informal way. Chat show, news, or publicity. Chat show, news, or publicity. You say publicity? No, of course. What about news? What do you think? Oops, no. So the correct one is chat show. Of course, if you remember in the Kahoot, we have some exercise about it. One is not an American rock band. Do you know? One is not an American rock band. The Strokes, Arctic Monkeys, The Doors. Which one? The Doors? Oops, no. Arctic Monkeys? Yes. La 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 Land was a brilliant movie, good movie, terrifying movie. La 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 Land, La La Land was a terrifying movie? No. Good movie? No. So the correct one is brilliant movie. Those verbs express preference except hate, love, try. Hate? No. Love? No. Of course, try is not a preference. So how many questions do you have right? I hope you have all of them. Start again? No, it's not necessary. I think it was easy. So we are going to move to the other step. Okay, are you ready for your grammar reminder? In this part, it is important that we recover everything that we have studied. So if you have your notes, please take them because you are going to need some information and maybe it's useful that you compare them. Okay, let's start with the grammar reminder. Okay, here we have the preferences and we have the grammar reminder. First, we are going to start talking about the verbs to express preferences. Hate, like, love, and prefer. We can use these verbs with an ing form or to infinitive form. For example, I hate to watch comedy shows. They are so disgusting for me. I love going to the woods each weekend. He prefers listening to the news in the radio instead of reading. She prefers not to speak to strangers in the subway. However, they have different meanings. The ing form emphasizes the action or experience. The to infinitive gives more emphasis to the result of the action or experience. I like going to the movies. He likes to watch cartoons. We don't like waiting for our teachers. Emphasis on the experience or action. I love to watch movies, that's why we usually go to the theater. I prefer to I prefer to sort out problems as soon as possible. She likes to read detective novels. Often we use the ing form to express enjoyment or lack of it, and the to infinitive form to express habits. The ing form is more common for love and hate. For example, when we use goal with like, love, and prefer, hate, we use the to infinitive, not the ing form. Example, we would love to hear you sing. Not we love hearing you sing. It's impossible, okay? And about good, better, we use it to talk about preferring one thing or another. Good, rather has two different constructions. Same subject plus verb form to express your preference for or an actions. I would rather stay at home than go out tonight. I would rather not go out tonight. Prefiero quedarme en casa que salir esta noche. Different subject plus past simple and clause to express your preferences for other people. Okay, in this case, we are going to move to the next part of the grammar reminder. Let's see. So do I. We use so with be and with modal and auxiliary verbs to mean in the same way as well, or to. We use it in order to avoid repeating verb, especially in short responses with pronounced subjects. When we use so in this way, we invert the verb and subject, and we do not repeat the main verb. What are you doing tonight? I got lots of exam making to do and I'm staying at home. So am I. This is a conjunction. We use so as subordinating conjunction to introduce clauses of result or decision. Example, I got here late, it was a long journey, so I'm really tired now. I got there late, it was a long journey, so I'm really tired now. It's a conjunction. So the first sentence in a comma, and then so because it's a conjunction. They are joining two sentences. So and that close. We use so, that as a conjunction to introduce clauses of reason and explanation. They both went on a diet so that they could play more football with their friends. So that they both went on a diet so that they could play more football with their friends. Present continuous. We use the pronoun is or and verb ing. It is used to describe an action that is going at this moment, an action that is going on a period of time, a future action in the future which has already been planned. An interrogative sentence, for example, are you waiting for someone? Are you waiting for someone? We have the to be, is, are, plus the pronoun, plus the verb ing, and finally the question mark. Negative sentence, we use the pronoun, plus am not, plus isn't, aren't, and the verb ing. And in this case, we say, you aren't doing nothing to achieve good grades. And well, I think this is the end of the presentation today. I hope if you have any questions, try to clarify them, and you can play again this video, this class. Please take your notes and compare all what we have explained and try to look at the rules and explanations and the grammar webinar, and bring your questions and then review everything. And of course, we are going to continue for next class with the same enthusiasm, with the same positive attitude in order to continue with the unit 33. So thank you very much for your attention and see you soon.